Kathleen Kennedy is thought of by many to be the main architect of the destruction of Star Wars. And so, as we get these rumors, these whispers about her potentially leaving the company, or even better, being fired from the company, and opposition, there are many people who think this is going to be a good thing. Many people who believe this is going to be the main thing that will fix the Star Wars universe and will put someone else in charge. And, Star Wars will be back to what it was supposed to be. Of course, me, myself, I'm not as, let's say, optimistic about this change, if it is to happen. And the reason why is pretty simple. What's up, Tiger Pack? It's your boy, Black Tiger Talks, and I'm here to talk Star Wars. More specifically, I'm here to talk about why the removal of Kathleen Kennedy from the role of Lucasfilm president is not going to change much of anything. The reason why Kathleen Kennedy's removal is not going to really change that much overall in the Star Wars universe is because the main problem with the Star Wars universe is that currently we are creatively bankrupt as a universe. There is nothing that can really be done to save that creative bankruptcy. You're going to need a whole bunch of new blood because Kathleen Kennedy, ultimately speaking, isn't even the main problem. She is currently the head of the snake, and I think a lot of people have this weird idea, this kind of good king fallacy, where, once you remove the bad and evil king, who's been destroying everything's supposed to go back to normal. The good king takes control, Lion King, Simba's back in charge, and now the world can restore itself. And that can be true. It just isn't true when you talk about companies like Disney, companies that are really large in general. Because while Kathleen Kennedy was the head of this company, you have to understand that she didn't have control over every creative decision. She just simply let people, some of the creatives that were already there, make bad decisions or hire different creators to make bad decisions. And ultimately speaking, even if you remove her, those creators are still going to be there. They're still going to have a job. They're still going to be in control of the whole situation, of the creative direction of the franchise, ultimately speaking. So it's very, I would say, naive to believe that this is going to make a big difference if she's removed. After all, the problem is that you're not really have a good king or a bad king here. What you have is a president of, a democracy. And with a democracy comes some bureaucracy, that bureaucracy in of itself is very difficult to uproot. That's the actual problem. There are so many different creatives, so many different directors, writers, all these different people who are moving Star Wars in a bad direction, who have no creative vision, who can't create interesting and compelling characters or interesting and compelling storylines, and refuse to allow anyone else to create interesting and compelling storylines, corrupting what few interesting ideas that are possibly there for Kathleen Kennedy's removal to make any difference. You put one of those people, one of those other creatives who were underneath her, who were following her orders, who were basically her right-hand people, and put them in charge of the situation, with Kathleen Kennedy probably still around to help influence them, as well as there are already lack of not necessarily talent, but at the very least lack of creative ideas. You can see how this is not going to change much of anything. So ultimately speaking, the problems with Star Wars are so vast and huge when it comes to the inability to create new stories, the inability to get away from the Skywalker saga, the inability to keep characters dead, for that matter. We keep bringing back characters like Asajj Ventress and who God knows who else. We seem to have this inability to simply let go of the past, funnily enough. or at the very least take the best elements of the past and use them to forge a great future. Instead, we take the elements of the past and we corrupt them and destroy them, making sure the past itself is corrupted and completely obliterated. All the lore, all the greatest parts of it are destroyed, while simultaneously unable to actually make any new good lore. So yeah, when you look at it from a more, realistic perspective, you get out of that naive good king fallacy. You kind of end up looking at it and being like, Star Wars in of itself is unfortunately dead for the time being. I'm not saying that it's not impossible for a hatchet man to come up there and just start cutting out the bureaucracy from within it and bring in, better people who are actually fans of the franchise, who can actually restore the lore back to its proper glory and create new and better lore. And I don't think it's impossible to fix the damage that's done to the franchise. I think that if you were to instead go to the old Republic, thousands of years before Yoda and the rest of those guys were actually doing anything, when you can actually have the idea of the Sith Empire, like an empire of Sith, an entire Sith order, fighting against an entire Jedi order, give visuals like it is, the entirety of the Sith versus the entirety of the Jedi, multiple Sith, not this Rule of Two thing, which the Rule of Two was very cool, but you have to, if you're going to make something new, well, make it new, make it look different. You got to have elements of the past, but simultaneously bring in something new and vibrant and interesting, which is what the prequels did, which is why even now, while you have some people who don't really like them, almost everyone can agree that at the very least, they brought several new elements to the story. And that is why they've experienced a bit of a revival recently, while a lot of the new Disney Star Wars has instead proven to be nothing new, proven to be, just a redraw, a rehash of what already happened, going over the same exact story beats with little or no change, basically copying what happened before in a way worse way, like a absolute amateur artist attempting to draw over the work, a masterpiece work, and instead bringing in something that's either the masterpiece or neither anything even good. And that's the unfortunate problem that Star Wars and our fans and our fandom has. So again, Kathleen Kennedy, getting rid of her is not going to be the way to get it done. We're going to have to go something new, something amazing, something that again has vestiges of the past, that still feels like Star Wars. It doesn't feel like something completely alien to Star Wars and the brand, but at the same time still manages to have, something cool and new, which is again, I think, very difficult to do and practically impossible for the current creatives who are there, for the people who will take the role of Kathleen Kennedy, the new president, and direct the ship. I don't think they ever have the ability to do that. I don't think they've shown that so far. But that's simply my thoughts on it. I'd like to hear what your guys' thoughts on this, topic is. So leave a like and, down in the video, subscribe if you're new, and, leave a comment down below. I would love to talk to you guys about this thing, because honestly, I'd like to see what type of ideas you guys have to even fix Star Wars, if it can even be saved. So, and with all that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.